And we'll go. Hello everyone, welcome to episode 9 of the Planescape Torment Let's Play. I'm Jackson Tyler from abnormalmapping.com. Planescape is this month Game Club game in the month of August, and I thought I'd record my playthrough for all to see. Last time we basically cleaned up the rest of the side quests, I think, for the Hive. I became a mage. Look, I'm a mage. Got spells. I should probably stack up on some spells and rest. Or do I get them every time I say, or do I have 2? Hang on. I guess I have 4 now. I had 2 the last time. Maybe that's, well, that's strange. Anyway. What does that do? Let's just check through these spells. Fist of Iron. This spell gives the caster's fifth the strength and durability of an iron, turning it into a living weapon. Any punch. I'm not doing punches. Armor until destroyed by creature. Identifies helpful, but I can use. I only really need that during, when I have access to a rest station. So let's go to level 2. Oh, can I not? Along with the debates about the spectrum of colour in the multiverse, this blue is better than yellow. Pike it Burke, of course, white is the true colour. A man is a racist, whoever said that. And while in the end many generally agree that a colour's greatness is in the eye of the beholder, this spell establishes the fact that some colours are deadlier than others. Okay, summons a large magical order of colour. Can be hurt. Alright, so it's a projectile attack. That's the one I'm going to stock up on. Yep, stocking up on that. Let's rest. Hey, let me rest. Yes, look, all lined up. Select spell, 4 charges. There we go. Good. Special bit and raise dead for 3 charges per rest. Okay, cool. Deactivate party cut. Open dialogue window. Oh, everything. Oh, it doesn't have the entire history of the game. That's almost disappointing. Orange spell book, map screen. I haven't actually gone through the stuff. Let's look in my journal, see how far back my journal goes. Day 6, day 6, day 5, day 5, day 4. It's everything. You could find out everything about the game. It's not... You can't search through it. It doesn't arrange anything into chapters, so it seems a bit, backwards, but we'll see. Okay. Let's be on our way. We should go, is it Meet for Odd? Meet for Odd time? Well, I was going to talk to Dakon about the things. Okay, yeah. How do I do that? Do I do that? Do I talk to him? Because I tried using the thing, but I assume that was me being wrong. I assume I'm going to be talking to him for a while. I'm going to go... Alright, hang on. Let's go chat to my good friend Dakon, but I feel we should do this in a better location. The atmosphere and the music playing is not what I want. Let's go to the Smouldering Corpse, where we had our first meeting, and discuss the ways of things and magic. At least whenever,
I'm gone.
Whenever it allows us to actually make it, because you move slowly in this game. That's not actually true, you move fairly fast, I'm just being facetious. Mort way ahead. Okay, there we go.
I'm gone.
Into the bar and let's chat with Dakon about the ways of things. Okay. There we go. No, I need to talk to him. Let's just click him. No.
In enduring, grow strong.
Yeah, how does one talk to their party member?
I hear your words. I will hear you.
Great. This is good. Forgotten how to talk to him. Dialogue.
What is your will?
Did it. There are things I would know, Dakon. I will hear you. Okay. I had some questions about the Githzerai. Is this the right one? I know that there's a thing with his spiraling thing that you're allowed to do once you become a mage. I want to teach you. I want to ask him about his religion, I think. But let's go through this and see where this conversation takes us. Can you tell me of Githzerai people again? Dakon is silent for a moment. Know this and accept it as an answer. We are the people who make our home among shifting plane of limbo. With a death motion, Dakon slips the blade from his back and holds it before him. I have done this. I have some other questions about the Githzerai. I have some questions about the Githzerai language. Can you teach me the ways in which your people speak? The speech of the people has its foundation in history. All things are a story to us. A metaphor is a tool and an inspiration to the strength. Know when we speak of Torrig's table, we remember that Torrig was noted for his hospitality and goodwill. When we speak of Selquant's haunt, we recall the lecherous and cruel nature of the Selquant.
Updated my journal.
Alright, well that's something. Dakon teaches you some of the common forms of speech. A wise man is said to have wrote the book of the Anarchs, while to accuse another of treason is to remember Vilquar's eye. It is said of generous people that their cupboards are bare. Common greetings include Hail, Swordringer, and Zerachi's kin bow to you. Darmok. Ah, shit, no, what's it? Ah, Shaka, where the walls fell. That's it. I'm getting this. That's a reference I should have pulled out far stronger. At Tanagra. Okay. Common greetings to which one should respond, and the traveller is pleased. Dakon is a skilled teacher, and after his instruction you feel capable of exchanging proper greetings with other Githzerai. Thanks, Dakon. There are other things I will know. Can I talk to you about your teachings? Okay, it should be about the art, right? The art seems like it's the right one. Know that the way of the people is not the same as the art you have come to know. It is not the energy that gives strength. It is knowing the self that gives strength. The teaching of Zerthamon speak of such things. Would you teach me the way of Zerthamon, Dakon? This seems to be the way to go. This conversation is going to be long, by the way. There's going to be lots of reading. I'm told it's a very good conversation, lots of interesting things. Not like Mr. Here are all the fucking planes over there. Those were interesting, to be fair, just very lore-heavy and low on character. This, however... Dakon seems like a cool guy. I wanted to find out more about him. Let's do this. I wish more games would allow you to just go deep into talking about your party members and what they know and do. Alright. Do you know what you have asked? The texture of Dakon's blade flows until it becomes a stone. To walk the paths of the Zerthamon, you must know of the people. The knowing of such things by one not of the people is a difficult matter. There are those that know. There are those not of the people who have heard the way of Zerthamon, but they do not know of the way. Okay. Dakon, I want to know the way of the people and know Zerthamon's teachings. I believe there is wisdom to be learned in such things.
Updated my journal.
Know that I have heard your words, and I shall test them. To learn, you must know the people. To know the people, you must know the Unbroken Circle of Zerthamon. Dakon holds up the stone disc in his possession, and his spider-like fingers hook into its sides. There is a click, and the plates of the circle slide into a new configuration. He reverses the motion, a sealing of the stone. Know the first circle of Zerthamon is open to you. Study it, then I will hear your words. Okay, I will read the first circle then. In the meantime, I had other things I would know. No, I'll examine it and then speak with you again. Alright, let me check. It'd be in his items. Right. Okay. There it is. Small rounds that come through the trip. Okay, yes. Use. This small round stone is the Unbroken Circle of Zerthamon. It is made of a series of interlocking circles. Blah 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 blah. Unlock the first plate as Dakon showed you. You mirror the motions that Dakon made upon the circle, and the plates give way at your touch. The rings sliding into a new configuration. Upon the rings are a series of symbols. The script is like no writing you have ever seen. It is a series of interlocking geometrics, with circles predominating. Just, like Time Lord language there. That's all I can think of with the way it talks about that. Just looking at it, you know the symbols and know you can read them. Okay. Read. Know that we are the first people, okay? Once all was chaos. The first people were thought drawn from chaos. When the first people came to know themselves, they were chaos no longer and became flesh. With their thoughts and knowing of matter, the people shaped the first world and dwelled there with the knowing to sustain them. Yet the flesh was new to the people, and with it the people came not to know themselves. The flesh gave rise to new thoughts, greed and hates, pains and joys, jealousies and doubts. All these fed on each other, and the minds of the people were divided. In their division, the people were punished. So it's a creation myth. This is interesting. I mean, the emotions of the flesh were strong. The greed and hates, the pains and joys, the jealousies and doubts. All of these served as a guiding stone to the enemies. In becoming flesh, the first people became enslaved to those who knew flesh only as tools for their will. Know these beasts were the Illithids. The Illithids were a race that had come to not to know themselves. They had learned how to make other races not to know themselves. They were the tentacled ones. They lived in flesh and saw flesh as tools for their will. Their blood was as water, and they shaped minds with their thoughts. When the Illithids came upon the people were a people no more. The people became slaves. The Illithids took the people from the first world and brought them to the false worlds. As the people laboured upon the false worlds, the Illithids taught them the way of the flesh. Through them the people came to know loss. They came to know suffering, and they came to know death, both of the body and of mind. They came to know what it is to be the herd of another, and have their flesh consumed. They came to know the horror of being made to feel joy in such things. That's a fucked up paragraph. The Unbroken Circle is the knowing of how the people lost themselves, and how they came to know themselves again. Okay. That's the first. So the first circle is kind of overview of this creation story about how people lost sight of identity and worked for others instead. Okay. Let's talk to you.
What is your will?
Dakon turns to you, his eyes like polished coal, as per usual. Can I do by our teachings? I have read the Unbroken Circle of Zerthamon. I want to speak to you more about the way of Zerthamon. Is Zerthamon a Digimon? That's what I want to know. It sounds like a Digimon. I think it'd be like second height, it'd be like ultimate level. Not quite, you know, War Zerthamon. The true form of Zerthamon. He's got a fucking hammer and rockets and stuff. Time to Digimon reference, 9 episodes. Steven, mark it down. Christ. Anyway, that was just for me. Let's carry on with the video game. What did you come to know? Alright, strengths lies in knowing oneself. I learned that once someone does not know themselves, they are lost. They become the tool for others. Yep, I assume that's the right one. Sounds like it. The other one's too literal. That one shows that you actually understood. It's reading comprehension.
Updated my journal.
You have come to know the first circle of Zerthamon. You not only see the words of Zerthamon, you have come to know them. Dakon holds up the circle and hooks his fingers around the edges. There is a click and the plates of the circle slide into a new configuration. He reverses the motion, sealing the stone. No, the second circle is open to you. Study it, then I will know your words. Okay. Let's read the thing. The small round stone is the unbroken circle of Zerthamon. You don't say. The second circle. Okay, cool. Let's do this. Know that flesh cannot mark steel. Know that steel may mark flesh. In knowing this, Zerthamon became free. It's true. That's a nice little succinct way of putting it. Continue reading the symbols. Know that the tentacled ones were of flesh. They relied on the flesh and used it as tools for their will. One of the places where the flesh served their will was the fields of husk on the false worlds of the Illithids. The fields were where the bodies of the people were cast after the Illithids had consumed their brains. When the brain had been devoured, the husks came to be fertilizer to grow the poison-stemmed grasses of the Illithids. Zerthamon worked the fields with no knowing of himself or what he had become. He was a tool of flesh, and the flesh was constant. It was upon these fields that Zerthamon came to know the scripture of steel. During one of the turnings, as Zerthamon tilled the fields with his hands, he came across a husk whose brain remained within it. It had not been used as food, yet it was dead. The thought that one of the husks had died a death without serving as food for the Illithids was a thought Zerthamon had difficulty understanding. From that thought came a desire to know what had happened to the husk. Embedded in the skull of the husk was a steel blade. It had pierced the bone. Zerthamon realized that Zerthamon realized that was what had killed the husk. You could have written that sentence better. I know you could have. Because the rest of this is all just nice taut prose, and that's a little clunky. I'm just calling you out. Should have given that sentence a polish. Just that one sentence, Anyway. The steel had marked the flesh, but the flesh had not marked the steel. Continuing the symbols. Zerthamon took in the blade and studied its surface. In it he saw his reflection. It was in the reflection of the steel that Zerthamon first knew himself. Whew. Its edge was sharp, its will the wearer's. It was the blade that would come to be raised against Gith when Zerthamon made the pronouncement of the two skies. Pronouncement of the two skies. Good name for a lore thing. Just saying. Zerthamon kept the blade for many turnings and many hours worth of... where did I get hours from? I'm bad at this. And many were the thoughts he had about it. He used it in the field to aid his work. In using it, he thought about how it was not used. The Illithids were very powerful. Zerthamon had believed that there was nothing that they did not know. Yet the Illithids never carried tools of steel, they used only flesh as tools. Everything was done through flesh, for the tentacled ones were made of flesh, and they knew flesh. Yet steel was superior to flesh. When the blade had killed the husk, it was the flesh that had been weaker than the steel. It was then that Zerthamon came to know that flesh yielded to steel. In knowing that, he came to know that steel was stronger than the Illithids. So it's a story of a guy... So yeah, it's the opening of 2001. Okay. Steel became the scripture of the people. Know that steel is the scripture by which the people came to know freedom. So, Dakon's entire people and their culture is based around having the right to bear arms, it sounds like. Slide the base close and seal the circle. Hey.
What is your will?
Dakon turns to you, his eyes like polished coal. You do not say. Okay, to the way teachings. Yeah. I learned that not knowing something can be a tool, just like flesh and steel. If upon encountering it, you attempt to know its nature and how it can be. Hang on. I learned that not knowing something can be a tool. Okay. So, ignorance... so the message of that was that ignorance is important, because if you are ignorant, you can learn new things, and you have to know what you know. Okay. That's cool. You've seen the words, and you have seen beyond them. You have come to know the second circle of Zerthamon. He does the thing. And how's about you? Blah 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 blah. Let's do this again. I read the next circle. I feel like this is a thing that I shouldn't be able to do all at once, but it's better to do it all at once because it's an important story. The third circle. Restart the place, blah blah blah. Read the third circle. Zerthamon laboured many turnings for the illithid Arlathai, twice deceased, and his partnership in the cavernous heavens of the false worlds. Arlathai twice deceased, another good name. His duties was have broken the backs of many others, but Zerthamon laboured on, suffering torment and exhaustion. It came to pass that the illithid Arlathai twice deceased ordered Zerthamon before him in his many-veined Galleria. He claimed that Zerthamon had committed slights of obstinance and cowardice against his partnership. The claim had no weight of truth, for Arlathai had only wished to know if flames ragged within Zerthamon's heart. He wished to know if Zerthamon's heart was one of slave or of a rebel. Zerthamon surrendered to the illithid punishment rather than reveal his newfound strength. He knew that were he to show the hatred in his heart, it would serve nothing, and it would harm others that felt as he. He chose to endure the punishment and was placed within the pillars of silence so that he might suffer for returning. Lashed upon the pillars, Zerthamon moved his mind to a place where pain could not reach, leaving his body behind. He lasted a turning, and when he was brought before Arlathai twice deceased, he gave gratitude for his punishment to the illithid as was custom. In so doing, he proved himself a slave in the illithid eyes, while his heart remained free. By enduring and quenching the fires of his hatred, he allowed Arlathai twice deceased to think him weak. When the time of the rising came, Arlathai was the first of the illithid to know death by Zerthamon's hand and die a third death. Excellent. I guess that was that chapter. A short chapter, but a punchy one. The moral of this one is to not allow other people to know you, because that could be your advantage.
What is your will?
Yep. Endure and enduring grow strong. I mean, that was what I said before, so... Your will has brought you the knowing of the third circle. Da-da-da-da, I impart this to you. The fourth circle. It's time. As you ask the word, you suddenly notice that Dakon isn't looking at you. He's holding the Unbroken in his hand, studying it. His blade has taken on the same texture as the Unbroken Circle, and Dakon seems older somehow. His black eyes rise from the circle to look at you. Know that I did not believe you would come to know the teaching of the circle. It is a difficult path you will walk in learning the way of Zerthamon. Is your mind focused on the matter? Okay. Okay, let's read it again. Second. Where's the first one? This is the second. Okay, well, let's do this. Unlock the fourth circle of Zerthamon. You slide the plates into the configurations Dakon showed you, and a new ring is revealed. The ring carries the same script you read before with the same geometrics. You know the symbols and you know you can read them. Well, that's familiar. Know that the rising of the people against the Illithid was a thing built upon many 10 turnings of labour. Many of the people were gathered and taught in secret the ways of defeating their Illithid masters. They were taught to shield their minds and use them as weapons. They were taught the scripture of steel, and most importantly, they were given the knowing of freedom. Some of the people learned the nature of freedom, and others took it into their hearts. The knowing gave them strength. Others feared freedom and kept silent. But there were those that knew freedom and knew slavery, and it was their choice that the people remain chained. One of those was Vilquar. Vilquar saw no freedom in the rising, but opportunity. He saw that the Illithid had spawned across many of the false worlds. Their worlds numbered so many that their vision was turned only outwards, to all that they did not already touch. Vilquar's eye saw that much took place that the Illithid did not see. To the rising, the Illithid were blinded. Vilkud came before his master, the Illithid Zigitaris, with the knowing of the rising. Vilquar added to his chains and offered to be their eyes against the rising. In exchange, Vilquar offered that he be rewarded for their service. The Illithid agreed to his contract. At the bonding of the contract, a dark time occurred. Many were the betrayals of Vilquar, and many were committed, and many were the people that the Illithids fed upon to stem the rising. It seemed that the rising would die before it could occur, and the Illithid were pleased with Vilquar's eye. It was near the end of this dark time when Zerthamon came to know Vilquar's I just can't talk, I'm sorry, I apologise. Vilquar's treacheries. In knowing Vilquar's eye, Zerthamon forced the rising to silence itself, so that Vilquar might think that at last his treacheries had succeeded, and the rising had fallen. He knew that Vilquar's eye was filled only with the reward he had been promised. He would see what he wished to see. With greed beating in his heart, Vilquar came upon the Illithid Sagittarius and spoke to his master of his success. He said that the rising had fallen, and the Illithids were safe to turn their eyes outwards once more. He praised their wisdom in using Vilquar's eye and he asked them for his reward. They're not going to give it to you. In his greed blindness, Vilquar had forgotten the knowing of why people had sought freedom. He had lost the knowing of what slavery meant. He had forgotten what his Illithid masters saw when they looked upon him, and so Vilquar's betrayal of the people was ended with another betrayal. Vilquar came to know that when Vilquar's eye had nothing left to see, Vilquar's eye was useless. I'm really glad in that little bit of reading right there that... oh, hang on. The Illithid gave to Vilquar his reward, opening the cavity of his skull and devouring his brain. Vilquar's corpse was cast upon the field of husks, so its blood might water the poison-stemmed grasses. Okay. Oh, whoops. Yeah, I'm glad that in that specific little
What is your
bit right there, they made Vilquar out to be a kind of tragic figure. Like, this guy who was in an awful environment, in slavery, to these creatures, and he totally betrays his people and sets a bunch of them killed, but they don't portray him as like a evil being and just as bad as the people ahead of him, just someone who had lost sight of what things mean. That last paragraph was a fucking nuanced bit of storytelling. This is fantastic. This is great. The things this is dealing with are pretty heavy, just on a thematic level. Like, not just, the extremes of his backstory are so tragic. I mean, like, they're actually using it for purpose and to explore actual things. His belief system, it makes sense that it would be his belief system because it speaks to a bunch of values, specifically about like responsibility and accountability, and who is like, that's what knowing yourself means, is that you know what you are, what you have done, and your actions are as a result of what you know. This is great. Honestly, this is great. I would wish to. Is there more? Please give me more. I could read this forever. Honestly. And one chooses to see what is before them, they see only a part of the whole. They are blind, and just as Vilkin was blinded by his promised reward, so were the Illithids blinded by the true rising. For when they heard Vilkin's words, they turned their sight outwards again, didn't they? And the rising was free to strike. Yeah. See, that's a good, moral story in terms of a teaching to be passed down, the story of Vilkin, because Vilkin isn't a bad person. The lesson isn't don't be bad. The lesson is don't do this, and it explains why you would want to do this. It explains why that is in many, from certain perspective, what Vilkin did is a totally reasonably well motivated thing, a sensible thing to do in his position, and I'm genuinely impressed with how well this is written right now. No, you speak truly. Vilkin's eye blinded both Vilkin and the Illithids. The tentacled one thought the rising to be no more. When the rising occurred, the ground drank deep of Illithid blood. So was victory born from treachery. I just said, nameless one. Dakon's blade bleeds into a dead night black, and his voice deepens for a moment. Well, you think he's angry, but you're not so sure. There is much about the way of Zerthimon and his path that is difficult to know. Do you know why it's part of the way of Zerthimon? It is part of the telling of how our people came to know freedom. It lets us know there are those, even among the people, who are not of the people, and that even in the greatest treachery, a greater knowing may be achieved. See? That... man. This... is... easily top 5 best written games I have played. Fuck. Okay, I'd like to know more. Okay, very well. Let's do the next circle. Let's keep this going. Not the 5th circle. You slide the plates into the configuration Dakon showed you, and a new ring is revealed. The ring carries the same script as you read before, and with the same geometries. You know your symbols, and you know you can read them. Well, I haven't heard that before. Zerthimon was the first to know the way of freedom, yet it was not he that first came to know the way of rebellion. The knowing of rebellion came to the warrior queen Gith, one of the people. She had served the Illithids upon many of the Fourth Worlds as a soldier, and she had come to know war and carried it in her heart. She had come to know how others might be organized to subjugate others. She knew the paths of power, and she knew the art of taking from the conquerors the weapons by which they could be defeated. Her mind was focused, and both her will and her blade were as one. The turning in which Zerthimon came to know Gith, Zerthimon ceased to know himself. Her words were as fires lit in the hearts of all who heard her. In hearing her words, he wished to know war. He knew not what afflicted him, but he knew he wished to join his blade to Gith. He wished to give his hate expression and share his pain with the Illithid. Gith was one of the people, but her knowing of herself was greater than any Zerthimon had ever encountered. She knew the ways of flesh, she knew the Illithids, and in knowing herself she was to know how to defeat them in battle. The strength of her knowing was so great that all those that walked her path came to know themselves. Gith was but one. Her strength was such that it caused others to know their strength, and Zerthimon laid his steel at her feet, examined the circle again. Okay, so dude met someone stronger than him and was like, I need to sign up for that. Also, he appears to be
What is your will?
about to be bested because he's too angry. I don't know where this is going. I've read the Unbroken Circle. There is great strength in numbers, but there is great power in one, for the strength and the will of one may gather numbers to it. There is strength in not only knowing the self, but knowing how to bring forth in others. You have come to know the fifth circle of Zerthamon. With this knowing I impart to you. Meditate on the teachings, blah blah blah, everything as usual. Okay. Let's do the next. Sixth circle. Upon the blasted plains, Zerthamon told Gith there cannot be two skies. In the wake of his words came war. That's plains as in plains, not plains as in Planescape Torment. As in grass plains. Upon the blasted plains, the people had achieved victory over the Illithid masters. They knew freedom. I like the fact that it skips over the war in just like that. Focusing entirely on the characters and the morals. This is a good myth story. Yet before the green fires had died from the battlefield, Gith spoke of continuing the war. Many still filled with the bloodlust in their hearts agreed with her. She spoke of not merely defeating the Illithids, but destroying all Illithids across the plains. After the Illithids had been exterminated, they would bring war to all other races they encountered. Continue reading the symbols. In Gith's heart fire raged. She lived in war, and in war she knew herself. All that her eyes saw, she wanted to conquer. Zerthamon spoke the beginnings that which freedom was... the beginnings of that which was against Gith's will. He spoke that the people already knew freedom. Now they should know themselves again and mend the damage that had been done to the people. Behind his words were many other hearts of the people who were weary of the war against the Illithid. Know that Gith's heart was not Zerthamon's heart on the matter. She said that the war would continue, the Illithid would be destroyed, their flesh would be no more. And then the people would claim the false worlds as their own. Gith told Zerthamon that they would be under the same sky in this matter. The words were like bared steel. From Zerthamon came the pronouncement of the two skies. In the wake of his words came war. Now there's infighting. I don't want to read the 7. Dialogue.
What is your will?
Okay. Dakon turns to you, his eyes like polished coal. You don't say. Da-ba-da. Your teachings. I know that Zerthamon's devotion to the people was such that he was willing to protect them from themselves. He knew that the Illithids had come not to know themselves in their obsession with control, so he chose to stop Gith before she carried the people to their deaths. There must be balance in all things, or the self will not hold. You have seen the words and know them. Dakon's voice. Dakon stared at you with 2 plates in his hand. Have that second plate for you. Dakon falls silent. His blade has ceased shimmering, the film freezing upon its surface. He is staring at the second plate, paralyzed. Do you know the 6th circle? Dakon looks up, but his coal-black eyes do not meet your gaze. No, there is nothing more I may teach you. You know the way of the people. You know the way as the people know it, and shall give you the direction by which you may know yourself. Do you know the 6th circle or so? Dakon is silent for a moment, then speaks. His voice slow and careful. It has come to pass that I do not know the 6th circle of Zerthamon. Once I knew it, but I know now I only saw the words. That is all. It is my path that I no longer know the way of Zerthamon. Aww. Dakon, there is one other thing I would know, of why is Vilquar's eye in the circle of Zerthamon. It seems strange. It tells of how the people benefit of a treachery from their own. It seems. I have told you it is part of the telling of how the people came to know freedom. Do you not listen? It tells the people that even in the greatest treachery, a greater knowing may be achieved. Doesn't sound to me like you believe that. I think there's another reason Vilquar's eye is in the circle of Zerthamon. It is set there because of the 6th circle and the pronouncement of the 2 skies. It's there to justify Zerthamon's treachery to the people upon the blasted plains. He divided the people upon the blasted plains. He divided your race when they were on the path to victory. I would like to believe that it was because he wished to save the people from themselves, but I don't think you believe that. Dakon is silent for a moment, then he speaks. I do not know the sixth circle as it is known to others. I fear that the third circle, the fourth circle, and the sixth circle are more closely linked than many know. It is in that knowing that I have lost myself. In the third circle, Zerthamon submerged his will to deceive the Ithalids. Then in the fourth circle, it speaks of the benefits of treachery. Then in the sixth circle, Zerthamon divides his people before they exterminate the Illithids. Do you think Zerthamon's words may not have been his own? That's a good question. Matt, I didn't even see this coming. Like, the stuff they had been doing so far in these tales had all had some kind of a purpose. It had been nuanced and, like, full of multiple perspectives and stuff, and you could poke holes in their logic because the story was written like that. It's, you know, you could see why Gif wants to, you know, destroy the people that completely destroyed hers. Man, this is even better than I was expecting. Whew. Okay, let's finish this up. Know my words and know the wound that lies upon my heart. I fear that when Zerthamon was upon the pillars of silence, he did not submerge his will. I fear his will was taken from him by the Illithids. And when he spoke upon the blasted plains, it was their words he spoke. I fear that what he did was not for the people's sake, but for our former masters. It's possible, but no, that doesn't necessarily mean that...
Updated my journal.
Then know this and speak of it no more. Know that I shall never know the truth. There is no resolution to this matter, and I shall never know Zerthamon's heart among the blasted plains. And so I do not know myself because of the Unbroken Circle of Zerthamon. Man. I mean, that was about 45 minutes. I mean, not quite. It was about half an hour, but... Whew. So, that entire thing was leading up to a revelation about a man who lives his life according to certain teachings, but his internal values and morals do not match up with the analysis of his gods, essentially. He cannot understand his gods. He cannot understand why his heroes and people whose teachings he lived by is a true... Wow, okay, that's truly... Is there a way to get into the fifth one? The sixth one? Examine the plate, see if you can puzzle out any new combinations. I did it. Okay, we're into the sixth... This hasn't finished yet. We're into the epilogue here. As you examine the rings of the second circle, a strange link. New circle. Pulling the plate forth so you can study it. Read the symbols. Know that the rising of the people against the Illithid was a thing built upon many turnings. Many were the people who lived and died under Time's blade while the rising was shaped. The rising was shaped upon a slow foundation. Steel was gathered so that it might mark Illithid flesh. A means of knowing the movements of the Illithid were established, at first weak and confused, then stronger like a child finding its voice. When the movements were known, then the Illithids were observed. In observing them, the ways of the mind were known. When the ways of the Illithid were known, many of the people were gathered and taught in secret the means to shield their minds, and the way to harness their will as weapons. They were taught the scripture of steel, and most importantly, they were given the knowing of freedom. These things were not learned quickly. The knowing of much of the ways was slow, and in all these things, time's weight fell upon all. From the knowing of one's reflection in a steel blade, to the knowing of submerging the will, to the knowing of seeing itself. All of these things and more the people built upon. In time they came to know the whole. Okay. Can I talk to him about that final... I'm going to save in case talking to him goes badly.
What is your will?
There was a seventh circle. It spoke of the building of the rebellion of the Aether. It speaks of time as an ally, not an enemy. It says that patience can sharpen even the smallest of efforts into a weapon that can strike the heart of an empire. Your victories may be small, but over time a greater victory may be achieved. Take the Unbroken Circle. As you take the circle and twist the links, 2 plates slide from the interior and into your hands. You have no idea where they came from, but the Unbroken Circle still seems intact. The 7th circle remains. Dakon watches you silently. Yeah, let's do this together. Let's do this. There is much you have come to know of the circle, and your knowing carries a greater weight than mine. Know that your path is mine, and it shall come to pass that you knew the way of the Zerthamon from me, and I shall know the way of Zerthamon from you. I like the fact that they're stronger together. They are buddies. Nameless One and Dakon, BFFs forever. Get the hell out of here, Mort, you late 90s arsehole. Very... let's study them. Oh, these are spells. Nope. Wait, what do we do? Is that it? Is that the end of it? I do not want to end this without knowing I've reached the end. I assume that's it then. Or are there things to do with the 7th circle? Does he use it?
Balance in all things. What is your will?
Okay. I guess we're done. I'm gonna call that a day for now, but man, that was fascinating. That was genuinely a moving story, like a bit of. I know it's within the game, but essentially there's a bit of writing, contextualized by the relationship between Nameless One and Dakon. In fact, it gives them a relationship. Way more, even though Mort rescues you and helps you out at the start and it tells you what to do and is essentially your guide to the world, that actually gave you an emotional connection between Mort and Dakon. And you really came to understand this guy's plight and sadness. And everything. And just all the stuff within the... the Unbroken Circle of Mr. Digimon. Oh, man, yeah, no, that's fantastic, and that's going to be a highlight of the game. I know that was just me reading for hours, but fascinating. Alright, we should probably go do Farod then. It's been a while, so maybe we'll call it here and do Farod next time. I think that's a smart course of action. I really do wish other games and TV shows and what have you would allow themselves to be that. Oh, we've gone the wrong way, haven't we? Yeah, it's that way.
I'm gone.
Yeah, would allow themselves to go that deep and take their lore that seriously. Because the lore in this is obviously very silly and nonsense all the way. But... and they don't try to like take it too seriously. They don't kind of treat the world with unearned reverence. It is a real world that their characters live in. But when it's time to have a story with actual real subtext, they use the fact that they have this entire universe to their advantage. Like they can create a myth without it being a common myth that already exists. Because we've got a bunch of, myths. The Bible is technically one. It is one. No, the Bible is one. You should all watch Noah. It's a great adaptation of Bible as myth. And everything that there were, like Greek ancient stories, ancient Viking stuff, and they use having a fantasy setting and their own thing to make their own point and put it within the story. I find it really satisfying when people use this their fantasy universe to have a point more than it looks cool or is grim. It's great. This is the best part of the game so far, and it was talking to someone for an hour about religion. I love this game. That's going to do for today. I'm going to talk to Farod next time, because it's been about an hour already. I think we've had a solid episode there. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you stuck with me. I'm Jackson Tyler of abnormalmapping.com. Do check us out. We're a good team. That's about it. Yeah, thank you very much. Check back next time. I've been saying this. Next time it might actually be time to do Farod. Get my journal back. Yeah. Bye.
I don't trust the Gith. I say we leave him behind.